Good morning. Happy Thursday. It is rainy and gloomy today. So I'm trying my best to enjoy what I like about rainy days, which is the sound of rain hitting the roof and the opportunity to stay inside and read a good book. Although lately I haven't been able to do much reading because my kids like to climb on top of me at every opportunity, but one can dream. Yesterday, I added this quilt to the bed and I forgot to mention it, so I wanted to mention it today. My grandma, Ruth, made this for me when I was 16, and I love it. I love the colors, I love the pattern, I love that she made it for me. And something I also love is that she didn't love it that much, and I think it was because it was one of her first tries. So that makes me love it even more because it's an example of maybe an imperfect thing that still is perfect and beautiful. And with every subsequent quilt she has made, she has, really become such an artist, and I still kind of love this one best because it was such a first try, and I can feel the I can feel the trying in it, and I think it's beautiful. So thank you, Grandma. Now today's poem is about resilience. Today's poem is called Optimism, and it was written by Jane Hirshfield. And I was lucky enough to find something where the poet kind of explains her thinking about the poem as well, so I'll share that with you before I share my own thoughts. Optimism. More and more, I have come to admire resilience. Not the simple resistance of a pillow whose foam returns over and over to the same shape, but the sinuous tenacity of a tree. Finding the light newly blocked on one side, it turns in another. A blind intelligence, true. But out of such persistence arose turtles, rivers, mitochondria, figs, all this resinous, unretractable earth. Wow. So this was in the Washington Post, and it was Jane Hirshfield talking about her own poem in 2009. She says, I wrote Optimism at a time when the resilience it speaks of was needed. As poets do, I waited for some image or idea to open the hard field those weeks and months were. What came was crown shyness, the way that trees, rather than compete for light, sometimes withdraw from their neighbor's shade and grow instead toward any available brightness. A basic and exemplary sanity. The poem then began. The poem began then at the confluence of personal crisis and ecological pondering. But poems have their own fates, and this one has many. It has been framed on hospice walls and put into a series of letterpress broadsides responding to the invasion of Iraq. Throughout the 2008 presidential race, I gave it at readings as an expression of hope for our country's saner future. Most recently, a young writer from Zimbabwe, Patina Gapa, used it as the epigraph for her first book. When I emailed to ask how that had happened, she answered that someone had sent her a copy and she thought the words embodied perfectly the spirit of the Zimbabwean people. Marianne Moore once said, poetry watches life with affection. In this spirit, poetry itself is an instrument of resilience, reflecting life's continuing embrace of its own implausible, risky existence. Both poetry and life take whatever challenge comes, painful or joyous, as a lattice for invention, a chance to increase possibility, variety, beauty, warmth, endurance. Each holds a limitless capacity to surprise and go on. Jane Hirshfield had so many beautiful words to say about her own writing, and I love it as well. I found some images of trees doing crazy things, so I thought I would share those with you. These trees have grown in spite of being pummeled by wind constantly. So they've all grown in the direction of the wind, but have continued to grow nonetheless. We have these trees who have grown kind of in a curved formation, and there's some debate over why, but I thought they were really cool to look at. This palm tree went right out sideways in the same way the poem says to get its own light, and and there's another one who does something similar. This tree in England was fell down and kept growing straight up. This tree is growing around a car. This one is growing around a bicycle. This one is eating a stop sign. And this type of tree in India walks and lives for centuries. So it keeps putting down roots from its own branches and just keeps walking and going. So they make these canopies that cover everything. And here's another one of those trees kind of walking around a statue. How incredible is nature? Again, just like the snowdrops from yesterday, thinking about resilience and thinking about how life goes on despite all obstacles. Life goes on. And life might not go on the way that we think it will or in the most prettiest fashion, but it goes on. It continues and continues and continues. So, what does that say for us in this time? Our lives go on, and we are resilient even if we don't feel that way. We are continuing to survive and to go on. And just like the poet was saying, I think poetry is a tool of doing that. Poetry is a way of us expressing our deepest feelings and our amazement at the wonder and beauty of the world, or our anger at the way that things are happening. So my feeling about this poem is a lot about my feeling in our current situation. Optimism can look like resilience, can look like not giving up, can look like just putting one foot in front of the other, or just continuing to exist, right? A lot of people talk about resilience or determination in the like never give up way, or thinking about people fighting or climbing a mountain. And this resilience is quieter and is natural and is a stubborn will to keep going without knowing what will happen, but searching for light anyway. So on this rainy day, I hope you can be finding some light and putting one foot in front of the other, not knowing what comes next. And you have all my best. Lots of love, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.